stories, I couldn't shake the feeling that we were being watched. Every rustle of the leaves, every snap of a twig sent my heart racing with fear. But my friends laughed it off, telling me I was just being paranoid. And for a while I tried to convince myself that they were right. But then, things started to happen that I couldn't ignore. One night, as we slept in our beds, I woke to the sound of footsteps outside the cabin. The cabin in the woods. My friends and I decided to take a weekend getaway to escape the hustle and bustle of the city. We found the perfect place online, a cozy cabin nestled deep in the woods, miles away from civilization. It seemed like the perfect spot to unwind and relax, away from the stresses of everyday life. As we drove up to the cabin, excitement bubbled within us. The air was crisp, the trees towering overhead like silent sentinels guarding our path. It was like something out of a postcard, picture perfect in every way. As we stepped inside the cabin, our initial excitement at finding such a charming retreat quickly dissipated, replaced by an unsettling feeling that settled heavily in the air. At first, it was hard to pinpoint exactly what was wrong, but as we took in our surroundings, a sense of unease began to creep over us. The air was heavy, thick with the scent of decay and neglect. The furniture was old and worn, the floorboards creaking beneath our feet as we explored the cabin's dimly lit interior. I tried to shake off the feeling of unease, to tell myself that I was just being paranoid. But deep down, I knew that something wasn't right. And as the sun began to set and darkness descended upon the forest, that feeling only grew stronger. That night, as we sat around the fire roasting marshmallows and sharing stories, I couldn't shake the feeling that we were being watched. Every rustle of the leaves, every snap of a twig sent my heart racing with fear. But my friends laughed it off, telling me I was just being paranoid. And for a while I tried to convince myself that they were right. But then, things started to happen that I couldn't ignore. One night, as we slept in our beds, I woke to the sound of footsteps outside the cabin. At first, I thought it was just one of my friends going to use the bathroom or get a drink of water. But as the footsteps grew closer and closer, I realized that they were coming from all around us. It was like there was someone or something circling the cabin, stalking us in the darkness. I lay there frozen with fear as the footsteps grew louder and louder. And then, just as suddenly as they had started, they stopped. The forest fell silent once again, as if whatever had been out there was now gone. I wanted to wake my friends, to tell them what had happened, but a part of me was afraid of what they might say. Afraid that they would laugh it off, dismiss it as nothing more than a figment of my imagination. So I stayed silent, listening to the sounds of the forest outside until exhaustion finally pulled me back into the depths of sleep. The next morning I woke to find my friends already up and about, preparing breakfast in the kitchen. I tried to brush off the events of the previous night, to tell myself that it had all been a dream. But as I glanced out the window at the dark woods beyond, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was out there, watching us, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. As the day wore on, that feeling only grew stronger. Every shadow seemed to hide some unseen danger, every rustle of the leaves sending a chill down my spine. And then, just as dusk began to fall, it happened. One of my friends went missing, vanished without a trace into the dark depths of the forest. We searched for hours, calling out his name and scouring the woods for any sign of him. But it was no use. He was gone, swallowed up by the darkness just like that. We called the police, hoping they would arrive swiftly and help us in our search. But even their efforts yielded no results. It was as if our friend had vanished into thin air, leaving behind only unanswered questions and a sense of dread that hung heavy in the air. As we sat around the fire that night, huddled together for warmth and comfort, I couldn't shake the feeling that we were being watched. That whoever, or whatever, had taken our friend was still out there, lurking in the shadows, waiting for us to let our guard down. And as I lay awake in my bed that night, listening to the sounds of the forest outside, I knew that we were in grave danger. That the cabin in the woods held secrets far darker than we could have ever imagined. The thought sent shivers down my spine, and I couldn't shake the feeling of unease that settled over me like a heavy blanket. But as the first light of dawn broke through the trees, I made a decision to leave the cabin behind, to flee from the darkness that had consumed us and never look back. We hastily packed our belongings and piled into the car, eager to put as much distance between ourselves and that cursed place as possible. As we drove away, leaving behind the horrors that lurked within its walls, I couldn't help but wonder if we would ever truly be free from the shadows that had haunted us that weekend. Only time would tell. But one thing was certain: I would never forget the terror that had gripped us in the heart of those woods, and the chilling realization that some secrets are best left undisturbed. I decided to book a weekend getaway at a cozy Airbnb in the countryside. It seemed like the perfect escape from the hustle and bustle of the city, a chance to unwind and relax in peace. As I arrived at the quaint little cottage nestled among the trees, I couldn't help but feel a sense of excitement. The place looked even better in person than it did in the pictures online. The sun was shining, birds were chirping, and everything seemed to be just perfect. I stepped inside the cottage, taking in the rustic charm of the wooden beams and stone fireplace. It felt like something out of a storybook, a cozy retreat from the stresses of everyday life. But as the weekend progressed, things started to take a sinister turn. It started with little things, like items going missing or strange noises in the middle of the night. At first I brushed it off as my imagination running wild, but deep down, I knew something wasn't right. Then one evening, as I was getting ready for bed, I noticed something odd in the corner of the room. It was a small, blinking light, almost hidden among the knickknacks on the shelf. Curiosity piqued. I walked over to investigate, my heart pounding in my chest. And that's when I saw it. A tiny camera, nestled discreetly among the trinkets, its lens pointed directly at the bed. My blood ran cold as I realized what I was looking at: a spy camera, hidden in plain sight, watching my every move. Panic set in as I frantically searched the room, discovering more cameras hidden in the smoke detector, the lampshade, even the teddy bear on the nightstand. I felt violated, like my privacy had been invaded in the worst possible way. Who would do something like this, and why? With trembling hands, I packed my bags and fled the cottage, desperate to escape the prying eyes that had been watching me. But the horror didn't end there. As I drove away, I couldn't shake the feeling of being watched, like someone was following me, tracking my every move. Paranoia consumed me as I constantly checked my rearview mirror, half expecting to see someone lurking in the shadows behind me. I couldn't trust anyone, not even the people passing me on the road. It felt like the walls were closing in around me, suffocating me with fear and uncertainty. And then, just when I thought I couldn't take it anymore, I received an anonymous email. It was a video clip, footage from the spy cameras in the cottage, showing me going about my daily routine, completely unaware of the hidden eyes that were watching me. My blood ran cold as I watched the footage, realizing that whoever had been spying on me knew everything about me, where I lived, where I worked, even my daily habits and routines. I felt sick to my stomach as I realized the magnitude of what had happened. I had been targeted, stalked by someone with malicious intent, someone who had violated my privacy in the most horrifying way imaginable. I reported the incident to the authorities, but there was little they could do. The perpetrator had covered their tracks well, leaving no trace of their identity behind. To this day, I still live in fear, constantly looking over my shoulder, wondering if the eyes of the hidden cameras are still watching me. And as I lie awake at night, unable to shake the feeling of being watched, I can't help but wonder if I'll ever truly be free from the terror that haunts me. If you've enjoyed our spine-tingling tales and crave more, don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring the notification bell. Until next time.